Hello and welcome back to the God Consciousness Project. My name is Robert Farmilo. I'm the narrator for the project, and we're reading from the book God Consciousness, written directly by God. And this is part 2. Hey, by the way, you'll notice the little box has shown up. Make sure you get a chance. You click on that box and you're going to be taken to the website. You can get the book for free. You can also buy the book as well if you want to. And there is loads of really cool stuff there. Useful, valuable information that's there that you can use, and it's all free. Click on the box and come out, check out the website. Okay, let's get going with chapter 35, Shame and Guilt, the Dynamic Duo, part 2. For some of you, this is called making amends. This is just what the name implies. You are seeking, figuring, trying to mend what has been damaged, harmed, hurt, destroyed by your direct input, action, lack of action, etc. Another way to look at guilt and shame is that you feel absolutely horrible about what you've done. You may even be angry at yourself for what you have done. You may feel so very wrong and bad about what you've done because you know you have violated some basic trust between you and whatever it is that you have harmed. So why do you feel guilt and shame for stuff that you shouldn't feel guilt and shame for? This is very much the dark side of what already is the dark side of feeling. For example, you might feel wrong about something that really is not wrong because you have been made to feel that way to keep you under the control of other people. Oh, I know that this extremely obvious stuff to most of you, and you might be wondering why I would tell you stuff that you already know and what possible point there is to this part of this book. Well, I am taking the time and space to talk and write about this exactly because it seems to be so obvious, and yet it is not that obvious at all. Guilt and shame are components of an overall feeling called fear. And fear is used to do all sorts of wild and crazy things to you and to yourself and all the other selves out there. As you know, all sorts of creatures, big and small, experience the power and sweep of fear. Fear is used to keep many, many beings under control by all sorts of entities and beings and whatnots who have their own agenda to fulfill. Fear is a useful thing, to be sure, and can make the difference in keeping you alive or not alive in your current ego-based identity structure. Guilt and shame have a lot to do with fear, and fear has a lot to do with guilt and shame. They are intimately linked. Without fear attached to them, guilt and shame lose a lot of their power. To know right from wrong is one thing. To be afraid to do something because you are feeling guilty and ashamed about doing it, even though it is not wrong, to do whatever it is you are contemplating doing, or thinking, or feeling, is a good example of the bad and wrong side of guilt and shame. All I can tell you is that guilt and shame are not necessary for you to live a good life. You do not need these feelings to figure out what to do and what not to do. You can use these feelings of guilt and shame as a reference to know that something is bothering you and you need to pay attention and get back on track with what you really, really want and need to be doing, thinking, and feeling. You can use your awareness of the fact that you are feeling guilty and or ashamed of something to go deeper and get back on track with yourself and with me. This next example is a good example of not being guilty, but other people deciding that you are guilty. When you break a law that you never made and do not think and or feel is correct or right or sensible or useful or whatever, and you are caught breaking this law, and you are charged with breaking this law and then tried and convicted of breaking this law. You are guilty, but you do not feel guilty. You do not think you are guilty of something wrong. And sometimes there may be not actual official court of law that accuses you and puts you on trial and finds you guilty and then sentences you. It may be someone or more than one someone who puts you through the ringer of attempting to find you guilty of some action you have done that they find to be an offense or offensive or wrong. But you may not feel and or think that you are guilty at all. And you may well not be guilty at all. The best way to navigate all this stuff is to live in dialogue with me. When you live in guidance with me, you can avoid the suffering that is yet to come and ask him, her, it, me, who knows the way. Okay, let's stop part 2 of chapter 35 right here, and you'll notice the little box is shown up on your screen. You click on that box and you'll go right away to the website, and you can order the book for free. And you can also buy the book too from that website. And it's chock full of quality content that's very useful, and it's all free. So click on that box, and I'll see you next time for part 3 of chapter 35 from the God Consciousness, written directly by God. See you next time.